My dad yelled, "Stop," when the priest asked if anyone objected during my wedding. My dad, Terry, always had to be the center of attention at every event with his stupid jokes that only he found funny, while everyone else just felt uncomfortable and embarrassed. At my cousin's wedding, he pretended to choke during the vows to get laughs, but just disrupted the entire ceremony. At my college graduation, he yelled, "That's my baby," when I walked across the stage, even though they specifically asked parents to hold applause until the end. At my engagement party, he gave a 40-minute speech about how I used to eat dirt as a child and wet the bed until I was 9, which weren't even true stories, just things he made up for entertainment. My mom always defended him, saying that's just how your father shows love through humor, but it wasn't humor. It was him needing every single moment to be about him. When I got engaged to Oliver, I sat my dad down and explicitly told him he needed to behave at my wedding. No jokes during the ceremony, no embarrassing speeches, no pranks, no surprises, nothing that would take attention away from Oliver and me on our day. He rolled his eyes and said I was being bridezilla already, and couldn't I take a joke? I said this wasn't about taking a joke. It was about having one day that wasn't ruined by his need for attention. He promised to be good, but kept making comments about how boring weddings were without some entertainment. The wedding planning was exhausting because I had to account for every possible way Dad might try to make himself the star. I assigned my brother Keith to basically babysit him. I gave the DJ strict instructions not to give him the microphone unless approved. I told the photographer to avoid candid shots of him because he'd definitely be doing something stupid in the background. I even considered not inviting him, but Mom said that would destroy our family, and she'd never forgive me. The morning of the wedding, Dad was suspiciously well behaved. He got dressed without complaint, didn't make jokes during photos, and actually seemed to be taking it seriously. I started to relax, thinking maybe he'd finally understood this wasn't about him. Oliver and I had planned a beautiful traditional ceremony at my grandmother's church, where my parents had also gotten married. We had 200 guests all dressed formally, and the atmosphere was perfect. Everything was going smoothly until we got to that part of the ceremony. The pastor said, "If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace." And there was the normal silent pause where everyone waits for the ceremony to continue. Then my dad stood up and yelled, "Stop, I object," in the loudest voice possible. The entire church gasped. Oliver's face went white. My mom grabbed Dad's arm, trying to pull him down. The pastor looked confused and asked, "Sir, what is your objection?" Dad started laughing and said, "Just kidding, wanted to see everyone's faces." Gotcha. He was the only one laughing. 200 people sat in stunned silence. Oliver's grandmother actually started crying. My teenage cousin recorded the whole thing looking shocked. The pastor didn't know what to do and just stood there frozen. Dad kept laughing and said, "Come on, that was hilarious, you should see your faces. Lighten up, people, it's a wedding, not a funeral." I stood at the altar in my wedding dress, watching my father ruin the most important moment of my life for a joke that wasn't even funny. Oliver whispered to me, asking if we should continue, but his voice was shaking. His parents looked horrified. His sister was covering her mouth in shock. All of our friends were whispering to each other. The moment was completely destroyed.